Okay guys, I'm here today with John Danaher, a huge honor for me, Jay, Plácido. Guys, John just finished filming the last series of the last part of the New Wave series, all about close guard, right John?
Yes indeed.
And one more series, so...
This has always been an interesting topic for me to teach because both myself and my students are not normally associated with closed guard.
Yep,
known as people who are open guard people. What many people don't realize is that in the gym, we fight each other very differently than when we compete against opponents. It's one thing to prepare from people who have a different style from you and then go against each other. And in the gym, we actually make considerable use of closed guard training. It's something we do every day. There's always a specific time set for closed guard training, but I still believe it's one of the most valuable forms of guard control. And it's very different from what we normally use. Normally, my whole game is to push my students to go towards inside control. I believe that's the best way for smaller people to fight bigger people. It's the best way to off-balance people into leg locks. Nonetheless, you can't just always play an inside position. There's going to be times you get shut down in one direction. You have to be able to be versatile and work with another. And closed guard is the quintessential outside control form of closed guard. It's much more centered around the upper body. And as a result, when you learn to combine these two together, you have closed guard for your upper body outside attacks and butterfly guard for your inside control lower body attacks. You play these together, it really rounds out your game really well. So I'm excited to teach this.
Yeah, oh John, and when I think about closed guard no gi, the first thing that comes to my mind, and it's from your team, is like, I don't want to play closed guard no gi because you were so vulnerable for the leg attacks and that. So I'm very curious to see how you deal with that, you know, like, because you were the one who...
That's a fascinating question. Like one of the big complaints, and we'll address this as this video unfolds about closed guard, is the second your guard gets open, there's a half-second gap where you're very vulnerable.
Very vulnerable.
So this whole question emerges like, okay, how do you guys deal with this? Like everyone dies for legs in your gym. How do you use closed guard safety with legs? So we definitely address that in the video. And don't worry, there's always a way to adapt. And closed guard, I still believe, can be a very effective part of the modern game. A big part of my career was working with the great Roger Gracie, who used to use closed guard in legendary fashion with a gi on. And he also had great success without the gi. And a topic that I became fascinated by was the adaptation of a position that will figure very heavily in this video, the side scissor position, where we get outside of our training partner's elbow, and how you modify it for no gi games. Because the way it's typically done makes heavy use of the lapels and the sleeve cuffs. And a natural question to ask is, okay, is there a way to modify this for no gi? And we're going to spend a lot of time on that in this video. So between the gi grip adaptations and how to use closed guard in a leg lock heavy room, there's going to be some interesting stuff here.
No, that's awesome. Super excited to learn.
The main thing we'll be looking at in this video, Plácido, clarify your gym, is early on we're going to start looking at just, okay, what are the advantages and disadvantages of closed guard? Like, what motivates me to use closed guard in a world where I don't have to use it? Okay, I could just work open guard here, so why would you use this? Well, the great advantage, the single biggest advantage that closed guard has over any other form of guard is distance control. Okay. When I work from any form of open guard, I more or less have to rely on the fact that Plácido wants to engage. If Plácido didn't want to engage with me, there's nothing I can do about it. I mean, I can crawl up from on the mat, but if he just refuses to engage me, there's nothing I can do. Closed guard is fundamentally different, insofar as once we lock our legs around our training partner, he's no longer at liberty to just disengage. Now he can stand up, he can open up my guard, do all those things, but until he opens up my guard, I'm in control of distance, okay? Not only are you in control of distance, but at any given moment, you can always attack your opponent's balance, okay? And we're gonna spend a big part of this video looking at how do you really off-balance people from closed guard without getting exhausted, okay? And that's huge. The other big thing is, in a closed guard situation, despite the fact that I'm in bottom position, I have the tactical initiative. Plácido can't do anything to attack me until he opens up my closed guard. Okay, the very few submissions that he has while he's inside my closed guard is so low percentage that it's almost impossible to get him to work on someone your own size and skill level. You have to be much bigger or much more skilled to submit me with the upper body while we're here, okay? But I, on the other hand, can attack Placido anytime I feel like it. So this creates a tactical initiative where I can attack him, but it's very difficult for him to attack me until he opens up my closed guard. So this is huge. The third big thing that we look at here is there's an open question here is who's really on top? Okay, it looks on the surface like Placido's on top of me because his upper body's on top.
Yeah,
but the most important part of my body is my hips, and my hips are on top of him. Okay, my hips are on top of Placido's hips, and this has really dramatic consequences. It means that if I ever get outside of Placido's elbow, you're in a position where you're halfway to your opponent's back.
Yep.
And all I have to do is swing my hips around and I have the rear mounted position. If Placido should ever lose his balance in a position like this and topple over, I fall mounted on him. Okay. If I sweep someone from open guard, I just end up in their guard. If I sweep them from closed guard, I end up mounted or on their back. So this is a huge tactical difference. So in terms of advantage, you've got the idea of distance control, you've got the idea of tactical initiative, and you've got the idea of higher hips. So that's why you would choose closed guard. Now this comes with some disadvantages. If Placido opens up my closed guard, there's a period where if my two knees face the ceiling, Placido can easily sit into Ashigarami on either side, and from here can go right into his leg attacks.
Yep.
Okay, that has to be addressed. We address this in the video very, very directly, and how we can turn this into a situation where when my guard opens, I leg lock him.
Right.
Not the other way around.
Right. That's amazing.
I hope to convince people, if you're worried, oh, I can't use closed guard anymore because of the whole leg lock revolution. Nonsense. You absolutely can. You can turn it against them, and we'll be looking at that in a lot of detail. Another big disadvantage that many people say about closed guard is it requires long legs. Okay, if you look at most specialists with closed guard, it's true. Most of them tend to be tall, thin athletes with long legs. A big theme. I have an entire section in this video is said, okay, how are shorter athletes with short, thick legs going to use closed guard effectively? Okay, and we're going to look at the idea of tying up an opponent at the upper body with double underhooks, and from here making conversions in position where we can be a very, very effective athlete, even if you're not blessed with long legs and height. Okay, that will be an entire section of this video. So we hope to address this problem of the disadvantage of leg locks and the disadvantage of height in very, very direct fashion in this video. Okay. Now, in terms of asking ourselves, okay, well, what motivates us to use closed guard? Now we've looked at that. Let's move on now to what is actually the major theme of this video, and it can be stated in a single sentence. Every battle from closed guard is essentially a battle over posture. Okay, that's very important, so I'll say it again. Every single battle you fight from closed guard is essentially a battle over posture. You know exactly what your opponent wants in terms of posture. From Placido's perspective, he wants to stand up and go into vertical posture. And if he can go into vertical posture, the few attacks that I have remaining here are all attacks in one direction, backwards. Okay? It's almost impossible for me to go into upper body submissions from here. I'm left pretty much with a few knockdowns to the back and leg locks. Okay? So my failure to break his posture results in a situation where Placido can stand up to vertical and easily open my guard. So from Placido's perspective, his whole thing is to get away from situations where he's broken down and first gain posture with his head and shoulders, then with his legs, and then into vertical posture, and then from there he can easily open my guard, and now we're in open guard and we've got to play from here. Okay, so that's Placido's story. Your whole game as the bottom athlete is to just fight him on every step, okay, to make it very, very difficult. And you need to have a clear sense of what does it mean to win the battle for posture? Well, there's certain symptoms that you can always look for. If you can get your opponent's hands to the mat, that's a symbol that you've broken his posture. Okay, if Placido stands up and I can knock his hips to the mat, that's a clear sign that when the hips and hands touch the mat, I've broken his posture. If I can bring Placido into a chest-to-chest position, like so, doesn't matter whether I'm inside his elbows or I'm outside of his elbows. Anytime we're chest-to-chest, that's broken posture. Okay? And these are the kinds of things that we'll be coaching in the video. Understand what it means to break his posture. What are the symptoms that you've succeeded? And then once people have a clear sense of, okay, If his hands are on the mat, I know I've broken his posture. If his butt's on the mat, I know I've broken his posture. If his chest's on my chest, I know I've broken his posture, and a list of other things that we'll show. Then they have a clear sense of direction. I know what I'm supposed to do. When we're working down here, I'm supposed to get his damn hands down to the floor, okay? I'm supposed to break him down into chest-to-chest positions where we can work like so, okay? And once they have a clear sense of what they're trying to accomplish, they have that sense of direction that makes them effective from closed guard position, okay? Now, your first battle is to win the battle of posture. Your second battle, the second big theme of this video, is once you've won the battle for posture, you got to get away from neutral positions into dominant positions, okay? Understand right from the start that closed guard by its very nature is a relatively neutral position. You do have a tactical advantage. You can attack him before he can attack you, that's true. But overall, it's pretty neutral, okay? All that starts to change when you do things like this, when you get outside of the elbows. Once you get outside of the elbows, you've got back explosion. Okay, your opponent has to react to this in predictable ways. When he starts reacting, it will create secondary attack where you can start knocking people over. Okay. Another one we make heavy use of is the idea of getting into double underhooks and working like so. Once we get into a position of double underhooks, it's relatively simple for us to start gaining angle on opponents and working out of here. Okay. Another classic would be the top lock, where we control a training partner and throw our legs over our training partner's shoulders and start climbing for height. Once we get control of the head and shoulders, you're in a position now which is, it's not strongly dominant, but it's certainly a major tactical advantage. Once you get to positions like this, the finishes come so much more easily. So we coach in terms of two major stages. First, the battle for posture. If you can win the battle for posture, everything else gets set up, okay? But once you've won the battle for posture, that's not going to finish matches. You've got to go to the second step now, is to get into advantageous positions, where you turn a neutral closed guard position into a highly advantageous position. I believe there are around 5 to 6 positions that stem directly from closed guard, which are truly advantageous. Now, fellas, I know it sounds weird to talk about positional dominance from bottom position, because most of the dominant positions in Jiu-Jitsu are top positions. You either have your opponent's back, or you're pinning them past their legs inside, knee on belly, mount, north-south, things like that. But I believe there is such a thing as positional dominance from bottom position. You can modify closed guard if you get outside of their elbows, if you get into double underhooks, if you get into top locks and figure 4 top locks. These are not dominant in the sense that mount is dominant, but they are absolutely advantageous positions where you can reliably beat people. And this big second theme of the video. First, break your opponent's balance, and then once you've accomplished this, work your way into the advantageous positions that we coach. Once you get to those positions, we set up little subsystems per position, so that no matter what your opponent's reaction to them, you're always in a position to attack either the upper or the lower body. You're always in a position to either submit them or sweep them. And when you learn those 5 or 6 positions, having broken a tough opponent's balance, the chance of you submitting or sweeping people from closed guard goes up astronomically.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, Joe, and the closed guard no-gi, for example, someone really has to have the desire to play. Because, for example, with gi, it's so easy to pull to the closed guard. Yes. No-gi is not that easy. Like, you can jump in the closed guard that easy. So
Actually, interestingly, Pastor, we talk about this a little bit in the video. You're absolutely right. The opportunities to go directly to closed guard and no gi is significantly less than that in gi competition. You see relatively few people make a jump into closed guard in ADCC, for example. There's a reason for that, because the grips aren't as tight. So the key when you go to enter is to off-balance people. Pastor, could I borrow you one minute? If we start in a situation where we play like so, down on the mat, a typical kind of open guard situation, I can't just walk in on this guy in slow motion. Okay? I'm never going to get to a closed guard. So we're going to have a strategy to get there. So as we come in, we take a hold of our training partner by the collar. And then from here, I just place my foot on Placido's hip, and we use it off balance. almost like the scissor sweep that you learn on your first day in
Yep.
jiu-jitsu. I place my foot on my training partner's hip, and then my second leg off balances his hand to the mat.
I get it. No,
As
that's
he
amazing.
goes to recover position,
Now you close it.
you go right
Okay,
into close guard.
okay.
So
No, that's incredible.
I know that in slow motion doesn't look very impressive, but the idea is as we walk towards our training, we start from an open guard situation, just take him out of balance and just go
I
straight
got it.
in.
I
And
got
so
it.
it's an easy way.
Yeah, and if they slip there, you can go to omoplata, a bunch of other
Absolutely,
options.
you got triangles in the hand,
Oh, I
and
got
all
it.
kinds of things. So, but the main thing is you have to adapt everything to getting people out of balance and breaking their posture before you can get to your closed guard.
No, I got it. No, that's awesome. No, and I love it how you did in the close guard. How you do in every position, you also did in close guard. How you broke that now and like break the posture, and
It's interesting you say this, Pastor, because of all the guard positions, closed guard is the most amenable to being broken down into systems. Because there's less movement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you start off just in front of someone, it's kind of chaotic. There's a million things he can do. There's a million things you can do. It's hard to narrow them down into systems. Closed guard, you're locked around your opponent.
Yeah.
There's only so many ways you can move. There's only so many ways he can move. And so as a result, you can chop everything down into it's very amenable to systematization. And that's exactly what we work with in this video. We take about 5 or 6 key positions, which we believe are dominant, even though we're underneath people.
Yep.
And we show, okay, once you get to those positions, there's only so many reactions your opponent can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's very easy to create little mini systems around those and then unify them together. And you've got a very effective way of attacking and dominating from bottom position in a relatively short period of time. Interesting, when I coach people, when we started jiu-jitsu, you learn closed guard before everything else. Okay, I actually don't teach that way. I actually teach closed guard. It's one of the last guards that I teach.
Right.
I start people in half guard and butterfly guard. But once
both gi and no gi, John?
Yes,
or
yes,
for both gi and no gi?
Yeah, I know that sounds strange.
Yeah.
But, one day I'll talk about why I choose to do that. But I do believe it's better to start people in open guard.
Yep.
And once they get very good in open guard, then I start using things like that entry into closed guard, and then show them a closed guard game. And but I will say that closed guard is, of all the guard positions that I teach, it's the one most amenable to creating small systems and giving people a very clear sense of, okay, step 1, 2, 3, 4. And if they react in this way, you divert in this direction. It's pretty easy for people to get pretty effective in a relatively short period of time from closed guard.
No, that's incredible. And I think it's a simple guard. Like, it's not like a lasso de la riva guard. So I think, that's incredible. Yeah, so guys, this is the last part of the new wave series from John, and all about closed guard. I think everybody knows everybody knows closed guard. Everybody knows how to play closed guard. So make sure to check that out. It's going to be at bjjfanatics.com, and maybe by the time you're watching, it's already there. So thanks so much, John.
Thank you, Bernardo.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Please help me out to grow my YouTube channel. Just click subscribe. And to watch more videos, just click under see more videos. I hope you enjoyed.
BJJFanatics.com. Use the promo code YouTube Faria to get 10% off any instructional video. Improve your jiu-jitsu faster.